is Josh. I'm a healthcare information technology consultant. So I'm here today to talk to you about the industry that I work in, and also talk to you about project management, some of the concepts around project management, the way that I use it in my industry. But really it could be like applied to everything. I've been in healthcare for about 15 years. I've been in my current role or industry for about 8 years. I work for a company called Oxford Global Resources. They're a healthcare consulting firm traded on NASDAQ, so it's a good company. I also am a small business owner. I own a company called OTLIS. It also does healthcare. That's whenever I'm doing like contract work through my own business, that's how I protect myself from a business standpoint. I have an associate's degree in health sciences, and I work specifically with electronic health record software called Epic. And at work, my nickname is the Wolf. So my industry is healthcare information technology. Really what the short version of it, you can read this later, short version is that we are really concerned, or what's really important to us is data management when it comes to healthcare. So that's taking like everything that was on paper, putting it into some system. Some of those systems have to talk through each other through an interface. But generally it's just comprehensive data management. Anything that is healthcare, we want to know about it. And really the goal for our industry is to make sure that we're improving healthcare, making sure that financially we're viable, that we understand trends. Like when Ebola came out, that scare came out, we needed to make sure that we were able to ask questions that were pertinent to understand which patients were a risk for our population. The software I work with specifically is called Epic. If you go to the doctor and you see them typing in stuff on the computer, they're most likely using this. Epic represents about 40% of every patient in the world being taken care of through electronic health record. And what their motto is, they want to let patients do more. They want to be able to communicate data to the patients through something called MyChart, just like portals, like your email, that kind of stuff. And they also want to make sure that, again, we're more profitable. We have the #1 healthcare system in the world. Healthcare represents about 6% of our gross domestic product. It's a big money maker. So we just need to make sure that we're viable. Project management, that's what I do. We'll go through like, what's a project? What is project management? The 5 Ps of project management, and then something that we call the PMBOK, which is like our version of the Bible, right? So what is a project? Really, it's just a temporary endeavor. It's a little bit of an adventure because there's a beginning and an end. And really the project goals are really to create a product, create some type of service, create some type of improvement, or create some type of result. So if you look at the iPhone, like I have the iPhone 6, I just kicked down for it last week. And if you look at it, Apple was like, okay, we want to make like the coolest phone out there, right? A handheld computer. So that was the iPhone 1. But then they said, oh, hey, we want to make cloud-based service. So we're going to offer iCloud and some of those tools to help integrate like this machine with all the other devices. The next thing is that some of the improvements, we see that in like the software, the iOS. We see that in the different versions that they offer. And also what it did is it created a result. It made sure that like in this handheld device that we're digitally connected, it's all integrated. And it's integrated with other systems as well. Like my Fitbit talks to my iPhone and it talks to my health record as well. So those things are important. What is project management? Again, like if you're looking at just the science of it, it's the application of knowledge, skills, and tools to support those project requirements. And there's really 5 phases to every project. So it doesn't matter if they're telling you to plan out prom or some event or some fundraiser. There's always going to be these 5 phases of the project. And in each phase, you'll see that there's like other subtasks, other sub-phases. And what you'll also want to see is like when you look at a Gantt chart, that there are things that there's times that you want to allot towards everything. If you go away with anything, you want to make sure that your planning phase is probably the longest thing that you do in project management. So whenever I'm given a project, like back last May, I was living in Washington, and I had a friend that was doing independent film. And so he came to me and he was like, I tried to make this film, 15 minutes, this is our budget. And he said, it's not going well for me. And so I took him through this little exercise, and what I figured out is that he didn't plan anything. Like, he was like, oh, I just want to make a movie, I want to direct it. He wanted all the accolades with none of the planning. And so when I walked him through this, I was like, okay, well, the 5 Ps of project management, when I looked at it, I said, okay, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to make this movie. I want to make it in HD. I want to make it with the most expensive camera. And I was like, okay. So I evaluated it. And it took me to the next part, the planning part of it, which was we had to figure out like the scope. Like, yes, we want to have like Star Wars, we want to have the Avengers, but he didn't have Avengers budget, So I had to go and like rein him in to say, okay, what's in scope? What are you going to deliver? What's your budget? Like, who are your people? What's your timeline? So based off of what he told me, we had to like cut things out of the film. We had to like make some decisions. We had to negotiate with people that were going to do work with us. And oh, by the way, I didn't know anything about film, but I knew project management, and that's what got us through. And so Eric actually went with us to Hollywood last year.
Premiere.
Yeah, Man Theater, first project, boom. So, but it was all doing this. It was looking at the people, looking at the process. What are we going to deliver? How we're going to deliver it? And what was the end product? It was a 15-minute film that we were able to do. I got some TV credits for it, so it was pretty awesome. But that was the fun part. In my normal job, I still do the same thing. They're like, Josh, we need you to turn on business continuity, or we need you to like work through this patient flow. It's integrated. We need Epic to communicate with this downstream system. I just look at it all the same. It's like a project, 5 Ps, and then I go into the formal process. Does that make sense? So project management, body of knowledge, what it is just, it's like, we refer to it as the Bible, but really it's managed by this institute called the PMI Institute. They're a not-for-profit organization. Essentially, it's a bunch of project managers get together. They figure out what's the best way to use these tools, and they're always updating them. And so there's ways to manage projects, like if it's software, if it's upgrading to Windows 7. Mr. Ramirez will tell you about this, is that with these businesses, they're going, like they did Windows 7, now they want to do Windows 8. So that's its own project. But you can still use the same methodology to get the job done. And also it's also recognized like worldwide through different standards in different organizations. But when you look at the process itself, so why I do the 5 Ps is to make sure that I'm getting this initiating part of the job done. So I do the 5 Ps because I want to see just because somebody says they want to do something, sometimes you can't do it. So sometimes you have to tell them in that initializing phase, you can't be done, you don't have the budget, you have to regroup and reorganize. So some projects don't get kicked off. I was doing some work out in Des Moines, and I had to tell them early on, you don't have enough money or enough people to do this. And so they had to postpone the project. So, but if you look at it, each one of these phases are like little sub-tasks. So in the initializing phase, we're trying to like establish our project charter. What that is saying like, if we are going to implement Epic, we have to have operations people, we have to have executive sponsorships. There's this whole group of people that are going to endorse this product, endorse this project, and they're going to be the people that we're like openly communicating with. So that's like the first thing. Next thing is what you do is a preliminary scope statement. You're essentially saying, yes, we will implement Epic, we will do these things. Is it a viable project? Yes or no? And then you move into the formal planning stage. And planning, if you look at it in the Gantt chart here, it's a lot of time. So initializing is you're just trying to figure out if you can do it. But planning, you should a lot. This is why most health systems call our firm, because they don't do this. So they call our firm, they spend a bunch of money, when all they could have just done is spent their own money and not called us, and just done this for them. So
you make a lot of money.
make a lot of money on other people's mistakes. Poor planning. Executing, monitoring, controlling. What that is just your, again, those subtasks. You're saying like, what work is being authorized, who are we going to be working with, what's the project network going to look like, what are our deliverables, and at the same time when you're executing, you're also communicating to your project stakeholders that, hey, we're on track, we're off track, mitigation plans. So this is always forever changing, but you have to focus on each part. So like the company I'm with right now is Northwestern University out in Chicago. So I fly out to Chicago every Sunday night, and I fly back on Thursdays. And what they tried to do was when I got there, they were already into all their executing part and still trying to plan. And so we had to have them just like take a pause to get caught up to figure out like what was it that we were actually delivering. They had spent about 1.5 years just spinning their wheels. Like, why aren't we getting done? It's because they never did this. And a lot of organizations won't do that either too. So you'll kind of see like this is the ideal state. This is why our company is good. It's because we focus on these things. Like this is how we do it. It's always the same, and we just go from company to company. So Northwestern University is pretty. I like working with them just because they're a top tier health system. They're a top tier university. But that's what our company does. Is we go with these people, and it's sad, but like good school, bad planning. So, and then the closing part of it is once the project's over, you go back, you say, hey, these are the things that we did. Make sure that we checked everything off. And then it usually leads into another phase of the project, which is like support, optimization work, that kind of thing. So even though we're contracted till like end of June, when they turn the system on, they'll probably bring us back just to help them with support, and then the next thing. Okay. Some of the business software, really when I look at the business software, the key thing for us is because a lot of us we live in different states than we work. And so like on Fridays when we're home and we're working from home, I'm in California, somebody else is in Miami, somebody else in New York, somebody else is in Wisconsin. And so the key for like what we do in the future, as you're going to see, is that everything has to be in a centralized digital repository. So there's Microsoft tools that I use on a daily basis, like SharePoint. That's a portal for everybody to go in, see what's going on, see the timeline, see the tasks. But if you're out there in the workplace and you're working on a project, professional company, they're going to have SharePoint. Like the school district here has SharePoint to manage a lot of their projects. The next thing is Microsoft Project, is what you saw in this slide. This comes from Project. So each one of these things is accounted for, you assign it. It's a project management application that Microsoft uses that's used everywhere that I've been in. It's supported by the PMBOK methodology, but it's useful because it does all the Gantt charts. It tells you where you're behind, when you're over allocated. So these are things that are important in project management. Microsoft OneDrive, there's a personal version and a business version to it. What OneDrive is just, it's there again, like a cloud-based repository, like a hard drive, but in the cloud. So if I post a document to the cloud, then my coworker can pick it up. Like I work with a client out in Tacoma, Washington, and their support was actually done in India. So I had to make sure that I loaded the documents to their SharePoint, their OneDrive, and at the same time I was communicating with the folks that across the ocean to say, okay, the documents are there. They would pick them up, and then they would do the work that we needed to have them do. So they were there to like fix little things, like if a user couldn't log in, if a user needed an extra button, some kind of security thing. That's what they were there to do. But really, so that's like centralized digital repository. These are all the tools that we use on a daily basis that they're all web-based, on demand. They also sync up to like a computer, to your Outlook. That promotes online collaboration. Microsoft offers a lot of like cloud-based software as well. So I could be on the plane, pull up the internet, pull up a web-based version of the Microsoft suites and make edits to things, as opposed to trying to download it directly to my computer. I can just make it on the fly. Something really, really easy. The other thing that's important for at least our industry, and you'll probably see this as well, is that video conferencing and teleconferencing is very important. So like it's healthcare. There's still this need for like face-to-face, face-to-face interaction. So I need to be able to log into things like WebEx, GoToMeeting, Microsoft Link, so that I can visually see my coworker, across the ocean or in a different state. I need to be able to see that person, talk to that person, because it's still important. And so you'll even see rooms that are equipped like this that have cameras all over the place that integrate with these pieces of software as well. So, but that's the new age. That's what it is. Another thing too, that business software. This is kind of going off on a little tangent here, but I work like 50 to 60 hours a week, sometimes more than that, and that's just the new work week for people in our industry. So the 40-hour work week, it's there, but there's these new expectations that you're like always checking email. So like I have my business email on my phone. I'm constantly checking it. I might get an email at night, I respond to it. I might not bill for it, but I'm constantly connected. That's like the new workforce. Business tips. One of my favorite quotes is from Walt Disney, where he says it's kind of fun to do the impossible. When I look back on my career in healthcare technology, if you had told me like, oh, what are you going to do in 5 years, and this is what I was going to be doing, I'd have said you're crazy, because it just sounded very, very impossible, very complicated. But it's nice because like we're a small group, we're able to go in, make a lot of changes, and so like now I look at it, it's like, yeah, it is fun to do the impossible. I enjoy my career, and I enjoy the travel that goes along with it too. So it's fun. I've been to have the benefit of going to a lot of different states and doing different things. Business tips, where I say develop a growth mindset. In my industry, every time the new software comes out, I read everybody's manual. Like I'm constantly trying to improve myself. If I have a coworker that does something better than I do, I try to take that, adopt it as my own, make it my own. So you're always improving, and that kind of leads into the second thing, or the third thing here, which is invest in your relationships. Like, I might not be the smartest guy in the room. If you look at my educational background, I have an associate's. My brother has a master's. But it's the people that I know that I do a great job, that are able to like open doors for me too. So you want, that's the thing. It's like who you know sometimes will get you the job. So it's important to develop those relationships. If you see somebody that's successful, become friends with them, understand like why they're successful, and try to kind of build on that. Improve your social skills. I like texting, but guess what? There's people in our office that they can't communicate with, like they can't do personal communication, but they'll send a nasty email or a nasty text. But they, and you probably already deal with it right now. And so that's the thing, is like you need to be able, at least in our industry, and like actually in a lot of industries, you need to be able to have like difficult conversations. You need to be able to still have that face-to-face, without boxing. Still need to be able to have that relationship, have that interpersonal communication. Another thing that is important, and I say this because you're in high school, is that you got to develop a positive digital presence. Okay, so what that means is your Facebooks, your Snapchats, your Twitters, your all that. Like, there's a reason why Mr. Ramirez and some of the teachers here and myself don't have those accounts. Like, I like them, they're pretty cool. I had them before, but I had to actually delete them or inactivate them because I needed to make sure that when it came to somebody looking me up, if you look me up, the first thing that you'll see is my LinkedIn. And it's laid out professionally. I had a professional service go in there, help me like actually write that thing, make it look professional. But you won't find me on Facebook. If you find me on Twitter, it's related to my business. If you find me in some other areas, you'll never see any of the other things. You won't see like bad photos or anything like that. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys share between each other that in the business world, it's going to get you knocked out. Like when I have to interview people and I get their resume, I look them up and I see what's going on. If they got something going on with them that isn't going to be a good match for our company, we have to protect that because we have investors. There's a lot of money in the industry that we do. So we have to take that serious. And so there's some candidates that on paper, they're great. Online, they're awful. So you throw them out. That's one thing to take away from here, okay? And also the lead through serving others. So, when I go to work, I'm like, it's me and my buddy Brad. We'll go there. We're the first people to turn on the lights. We're the people that turn off the lights. If people need help with something, we're there to help them. We're there to, feed them, make sure that our people are taken care of. So that's just another tidbit that has, done very well for me. And that's it. So that's me in a nutshell. That's project management. Boom. Any questions?